Happy Pride, everybody. The stake starts now. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to The Stakes. My name is Michelle Kinney. I am co-founder of the Seneca Project. Tara will be here hopefully soon. She just texted me that she's on her way. She's not home, so sometimes that unfortunately leaves us with some technical and internet gremlins and whatnot. But I'm here for now. Oh, I see her. I see her. I see her. Is she? Are you good? Okay, great. I'm gonna bring in some Tara. I'm gonna put her on the left where she belongs. There you go. How's it going?
It's going all right. I had to get a signal and I'm here
That's
now.
what I figured. I was like, there's signal and internet, and you're on the beach, and like, where's the towers and all the things. So
I mean, yeah, but I'm here now. I'm here now. I
great,
may adjust a
great.
little bit because I have some backlight. I'm trying to get so I'm not so dark, but go ahead.
You
So
know what?
yes.
I just wished everyone a happy Pride. It is not only Pride Month, but it is Pride in New York City this weekend. So I just want to wish everyone a happy Pride, a happy and safe Pride, especially this year more than ever. And also commemorate the 10 years since Obergefell. I always say it wrong. Obergefell v. Hodges. Made way for marriage equality in the United States, which is, I think, a wonderful thing. And, I got married in 2015, and in my wedding vows, I actually said how grateful I was to be getting married in a year and in a country where everybody I love gets to get married to who they love too. So I'm very grateful to be able to say that, and for us to still say that. Um, and
For
also
now.
this, yeah, I know. It's unfortunately very true. But also, Tara, we want to commemorate something that's not so happy, and that is the 3 years since we lost the rights to our bodies.
Yep. Yep. This week is the 3-year anniversary of the Dobbs decision. And it really has fallen under the radar because
Yeah,
of so many other things that are going on, and it doesn't need to. For
right.
women in this country, we are reminded every single day of the fact that we're the only group that's lost a right in the
Yep,
entire history of America, that had a
yep,
right and then lost it.
yep.
And so, it's important that we continue to shine a light on this. Women and our rights are under attack everywhere, all the time, every
Hmm.
single day. And that's not stopping just because the news isn't covering it, or because you're not hearing about the women as often as you were last year about what's happening to women across the country. It's still happening.
Right.
And Republicans are still out here trying to do things that undermine women and our
Oh yeah,
rights, not only
it will
just our
never be
bodies but to
enough.
vote. Yeah,
It will
no, I
never
mean,
be enough for them until we're
no.
literally barefoot and pregnant and silent, sitting
Hmm.
inside our homes, raising 8,000 babies and doing nothing else.
I mean, they've said it.
Yeah,
They
they've
wrote it
literally
down.
said this. They literally
Yeah.
said it. They've written it down. They're not afraid of it. They're not ashamed. They're not ashamed of any of this.
No.
And, it unfortunately is ushered through by women who, become the human shield for the rest of them. People like Josh Hawley's wife, who's argued cases before the Supreme Court that hurt women.
Yep.
I just think in this last week, we had a woman in Georgia who had complications during her pregnancy and unfortunately became brain dead. And they kept her body on life support because she had a fetus inside of her that was not going to survive anyways. So they held her in on life support until, the fetus would be viable, quote unquote. And then they took her off life support and just let her die.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, the amount of cruelty and lack of humanity and just, I mean, it's this is the Handmaid's Tale stuff, like,
Yeah.
it
And it, you know, the crazy thing about this is that people have just dismissed this because the
Mhm.
conversation post-mortem since 2024 has been all about, whiny dudes and the
Yeah,
problem we
right.
have with men and young boys. And listen, there is a problem.
I know it's real, but, like,
It's
also
real. But right. Also, young white men have had all the privileges the entire time in this country, and they haven't lost any. They're just, there's other issues going on there, but it doesn't
Well,
mean that you can't do both. I mean, it doesn't mean that you can't address both things. Like, one doesn't have to be at the expense of the other, but that seems to
right.
be what the zeitgeist has done here, where
Well, and
women, it's like, oh, shut up over there. You, whatever. We need to focus over here on the boy problem, on the male problem.
right,
And,
right.
I mean,
I think
there's something to be
sometimes
said
it's
about
less
that.
of a loneliness epidemic as it is like go out and touch grass epidemic and
Hmm.
an antisocial epidemic. I'm like, go read a book. Like, I don't know. Like, I
No,
don't know
I
what to
feel go
tell
out and
people.
play. Like, I think there's a
Right.
problem that, right? I
Right.
mean, that goes across the board, but there is a problem with people and interacting with human beings. And,
Oh my
the
God.
internet,
Right.
the internet and our phones and everything have really destroyed social interaction. And this
It's
has caused a
true.
problem.
It's true.
It
I
has
mean,
caused a loneliness epidemic, and it's caused
what
a problem for women and self-esteem. And I mean,
absolutely.
these
Absolutely.
are real problems, and we need to address them.
Right.
But in the meantime, though, it should not be at the expense of the other,
Right.
because you need for a healthy democratic society, you need women to have full rights. For a
Right.
healthy democratic society, you need men to respect those rights and understand
Well,
why
right.
they're necessary.
And be aware of them, right? It's
Correct.
like the being a little girl, even like in the 80s and like, I mean, growing up in the 80s and 90s, like, I believed I could do anything I wanted.
Hmm.
Like you reach for the stars, right?
Hmm.
And I don't feel like a lot of men in my age group and younger are raised to also know that women can do whatever they want. And
Right.
it's there's like a disconnect there somewhere. And I don't
A
know.
huge disconnect, and the problem is that it's because they're being taught to resent the
Right.
success of other people,
Well, right.
because our society is becoming more diverse, so
I don't know
that's a
if you
problem.
exactly. And I don't know if you saw Jordan Klepper did a story like or a segment about this. And he started a TikTok account like as a 13-year-old boy. And
Mm,
within 1 minute, the algorithm was feeding him video content that was anti-woman, that was like pro alpha male crap. All this like take this and you need to beef up and alpha male and all this stuff, and it's like masculinity and, trad wives and like that within like a minute
yeah.
for a 13-year-old boy. And with the social interaction thing, like I know we probably sound like, old people saying this stuff, but it's true. I was watching a podcast video the other day and they were talking about how when we were kids, right? You wanted to talk to your friend. You had to call them on the
Yeah.
phone, and usually their
What a
parent would
novel
pick up the
concept.
phone. Their parent would have to pick up the phone, and you'd have to talk to them, and it'd be like, "Hi, Mrs. Wheeler, how are you?" Yes, and then you'd have to have a conversation with an adult before your friend got on the phone, you know? And it's like, "May I please speak with, Aaron or whoever it is?" And, it's just like, you know, I
You also just went out and played. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right, yes.
it's a lot. But anyway, I mean,
Yeah,
that's
anyways, anyways.
some of what's been going on this week, that we thought was important to point out, because the Supreme Court's toward the end of their term, so they start, you know uh,
Yeah.
deciding cases. The cases come out, and it's just a reminder. I mean, you also had the case that just came out this week about how states can refuse to give Medicaid or state or federal funding to Planned Parenthood. And however you feel about that, Planned Parenthood does more than just provide abortion care.
It
And
sure
so
does.
this is also another area where people don't realize what they've lost until it's
No.
gone.
Right,
And
Planned Parenthood was the only medical care I had until I was almost 30. It was the only opportunity that I could go somewhere and see a medical professional and, like, be able to afford it. And that's just I mean, they did blood work, all
yeah,
kinds of stuff.
yeah.
I got my
Basic pap
annual
smears,
exams.
right?
Yeah,
Like,
like, all that.
yes, yes. And so you couple that with what's happening in the budget bill that Trump and
Mm,
Republicans are trying to pass, with,
mhm.
how many people are going to lose their health insurance, how many rural hospitals and clinics are going to get shut down. I mean, I don't know if you saw this. Uh, you had some folks that were in wheelchairs that were
Mm,
protesting the cuts in Medicaid, and how their lives would be
yeah.
greatly impacted by this, being zip tied and
Zip
arrested
tied.
at the Capitol. Are
Yeah.
you fucking kidding me?
Disabled
what is
people
wrong with
in
these people?
wheelchairs.
What is
And,
wrong with
and
these
again, like
people?
we're all about like the pro-life and have the babies. I'm just like 40% of babies in the United States are delivered via Medicaid.
Right?
Like what?
Yes. I mean, yeah, it's nuts. Like I'm like, what kind of cruel and like power hungry bullshit is that? You don't zip tie people
Sadistic.
unless they the whole point is to control them if they are a threat, right? I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but the disabled folks who were there to exercise their constitutional rights to protest, I don't think they were a threat. It's just insane.
Yeah.
Like I just don't. I don't know. This is just. This is just.
I
It's.
know.
I remember when Republicans flipped out because World War II veterans were denied access to the World War II memorial when there was a government shutdown that they caused.
Right. Of course.
But they're okay with zip tying seniors in their like mobile scooters, mobility scooters. Like I just it's infuriating, but it's just one thing to add to the list of infuriating things this week. I mean, it hasn't even been a week, and we were like we bombed Iran and went to war with Iran, and now we're not, or are we? Or I mean, the it's Thursday. This happened on Saturday. Since
Mm.
Saturday, we bombed Iran. We Trump went to NATO. They said we obliterated Iran's nuclear program. Narrator, no, we didn't. I'm gonna get to that in a second because Pete Hegseth had a freaking meltdown today because he's
Oh
been
yeah.
questioned by this. I actually do give credit to the mainstream media that was asking legitimate questions about, so did we destroy the nuke program or did we not? Like,
Right.
where are we at here? Nobody's questioning. Just because you're asking questions about what the results were doesn't mean that you are disparaging the heroics and the skills of our pilots who went
Of
and
course.
executed the mission. Nobody has said that, but they're turning this around and trying to obfuscate from what the real questions are here, because guess
Hmm.
what? They did not obliterate Iran's nuke program. Far from it.
Yeah.
So this is a problem, and it makes Trump look like the jackass that he is, and that this decision to go and bomb Iran was
Yeah.
impulsive. And
Yeah.
so all of this has gone on. It's Thursday. It's Thursday.
Well, I want to play the first clip. I have two clips from Pete Hegseth today. The first one, I mean, I think this just kind of sets up the fact that this entire press conference was Pete Hegseth, um,
Berating and
perf-
screaming at the media like an
well,
asshole.
and parading himself around in performance for dear leader. I mean,
Of
this is the whole
course.
thing. He's like jumped way up his ass. So let me just play this first one.
The bottom line here, President Trump directed the most complex and secretive military operation in history, and it was a resounding success, resulting in a ceasefire agreement and the end of the 12-day war.
12-day war, TM.
Yeah.
A thing that they have made up.
Completely. Because it's
And
all
then
about branding. Remember, this
yeah,
is the next episode of the reality show. It's the 12-day war episode. Go ahead.
right. And so this next one is when he starts berating the press, which is just,
Stories have been written about how hard it is to, I don't know, fly a plane for 36 hours. Has MSNBC?
is that Frozen? Hold
No.
on. Oh,
How
sorry.
many
Let me
stories have
start.
been written about how hard it is to, I don't know, fly a plane for 36 hours? Has MSNBC done that story? Has Fox? Have we done the story how hard that is?
Actually, yes.
Have we done it 2 or 3 times so that American people understand? How about how difficult it is to shoot a drone from an F-15 or 16 or F-22 or F-35? Or what it's like to man a Patriot battery? Or how hard it is to refuel midair? Giving the American people an
We wouldn't
understanding
know.
of how complex
Right,
and sophisticated
right.
this mission really was. There are so many aspects of what our brave men and women did that, because of the hatred of this press corps, are undermined because your people are trying to leak and spin that it wasn't successful. It's irresponsible. And folks in this room are privy to that information because of the proximity here in the Pentagon. It's an important responsibility. And time again, classified information is leaked or peddled for political purposes to try to make the president look bad. And what's really happening is you're undermining the success of incredible B-2 pilots and incredible F-35 pilots and incredible refuelers and incredible air defenders who accomplished their mission. set back a nuclear program in ways that other presidents would have dreamed. How about we celebrate that?
Yeah.
How
Okay.
many stories-
So why don't we celebrate that? Did they write any of these things? Yes, they did. This was like
Yes.
however many days. This was on Tuesday. Catnaps, piddle packs, and amphetamines. Here's what it takes to complete a marathon bombing run. Like, yes, they are reporting on it. It's just they would rather do this performative nonsense. And then
Yeah.
he yells at one of his former colleagues.
Yes. Do we have that? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What the hell?
It's about highly enriched uranium. Do you have certainty that all the highly enriched uranium was inside the Fordo Mountain, or some of it, because there were satellite photos that showed more than a dozen trucks there 2 days in advance? Are you certain none of that highly enriched uranium was moved?
Of course, we're watching every single aspect, but Jennifer, you've been about the worst, the one who misrepresents the most intentionally what the president says. I'm familiar.
Report about the ventilation shafts on Saturday night. And in fact, I was the first to describe the B-2 bombers, the refueling, the entire mission with great accuracy. So I take issue with that.
I appreciate you acknowledging that this was the
issues.
first the most successful mission based on operational security that this department has done since you've been here, and I appreciate that. So
Absolutely.
we're looking at all aspects of intelligence.
He's such a little bitch. Like I
Okay.
can't. He's
A few things. First of all, Jennifer Griffin is a long-time Pentagon reporter. Okay, she is one of the few real reporters left, like real journalists left at Fox News. Okay, one of the few. Like most of them are all gone, and she's actually
Right.
a legit Pentagon reporter. She's been around a long time. And he knows that, which is why he went after her so viciously, because he knows that she has credibility with the Fox audience. And not just the Fox audience, but like of colleagues,
Right.
in the mainstream media. So for him to do that, and she handled it quite well, all things considered, but she actually did write a story about the pilots and all that. Like, this is all a bait and switch because
Yeah.
they do not want to answer the questions. Even their own general, the Raisin Cane guy, the Joint Chiefs guy, right? Even he was couching his language because they cannot confirm that it was obliterated. I've never heard the word obliterated used so many times in 1 week because it's
Right.
like thou doth protest too much.
Oh,
Because
yes.
it wasn't obliterated. They said that they executed their targets, like they hit the targets perfectly, but they didn't say what the strikes actually accomplished.
Well, and then
When you listen to their words.
Senator Norman Bates, I'm sorry, Tom Cotton was speaking about this and the underground little tunnel where they take a little train underneath. Let me just play this.
That's so funny.
Do you have some sense of where the enriched uranium is at this point? Has the intelligence community figured that out at this point?
I don't have a comment on that. I will say it was not part of the mission to destroy all their enriched uranium or to seize it or anything else. Again, this is not a mission.
Yeah.
What? That was the whole mission.
And here's Lindsey Graham.
Program
Hold on.
was obliterated at those 3 sites, but they still have ambitions. I don't know where the 900 pounds of highly enriched uranium exists, but it wasn't part of the target set.
It wasn't
my
part
God.
of the target.
Oh,
Amazing.
obviously. Okay, we want to talk about obliterated Lindsey Graham. Look, the spin machine, the propaganda machine
Oh my God.
that exists inside of MAGA is really quite remarkable. I mean, it is a masterclass in propaganda and gaslighting and lying. I mean, this makes the Nazis look like nursery school
Yeah.
kids. This is unbelievable. And the quickness in which they just turn around and just lie and just gaslight the American people because they assume people don't pay attention. Did they not realize that Donald Trump immediately went out on his little thumbs and was like, "Oh, we obliterated Iran's nuclear program, and all 3 of these sites," and he listed them by name, and the bunker busters and the 30,000-pound bunker busters. And then when the Joint Chiefs came out and was like, "Yeah, we're still assessing," and then some patriot inside the Defense Intelligence Agency decided to actually leak the initial defense
Right.
damage assessment and was like, yeah, y'all might want to look at this because, and oh, by the way, there were trucks lined up outside of Fordo and others days before this, probably trucking the shit out of there. Okay. So it's just, I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know what to do here. And you don't know who to believe either. It's like, who
No.
do you believe? Because our intelligence agencies are compromised at the top. You have the good men and women who still work there. Thank God for them. But like Tulsi Gabbard is a complete stooge and know
Mm.
nothing. But the intelligence that she released back in March was basically holdover information from the Biden administration, which
Right.
is competent. So do you believe her now? Like, I don't want to give Tulsi
Right.
Gabbard credit for shit, but like, she was probably right. I mean, you have Leon Panetta out there who, you know,
Right.
was CIA director. He was SecDef. He was Obama's Clinton's chief of staff. Like Leon Panetta, when he speaks, I listen. And Leon Panetta is out here
He's a serious person.
warning, very serious person. And like, it's funny when Leon Panetta and what's his name, the other one who was head of the NSA, and he was the older guy too, I forget, but they're like best buddies, and between the two of them they have like 100 years of intel top secret
Right.
experience. And it's like when I used to see them at CNN's studios or like in the green room, I used to just sit back in awe and just listen to them talk. It was just
So
like,
smart.
could you imagine what it's like with these two guys with like a scotch, like smoking cigars
I mean,
by
the things that
themselves?
they know and the
Oh my
things that they've
God.
seen, like,
Yes.
oh my God.
Oh my
Well,
God. But anyway,
well,
but like
yeah.
he's out here warning that this is very serious, that the world is more dangerous today than it was last week. It
Mhm.
is. The Middle East is reconstituting and realigning in a way that is not what people planned. Okay, you've got Pakistan out here now saying, you know what, we're gonna try and build our own intercontinental ballistic missiles to hit America because they have nukes. Pakistan, but those nukes are only supposed to be for India, right? Because they don't like each other. So you have India and Pakistan, their nuke, they have their own problem, right? Their nukes are pointing at each other. But now Pakistan is like, yeah, I think we're going to try to get some ICBMs too, because, you know.
Sometimes I'm just like, send the asteroid. It just, you know what I mean? Why is it, like, it's just so, well, and speaking of bombs, more bombs and things that blow things up. So Donald Trump went on this at The Hague, which, you know, ironically, he's been at The Hague. And we were saying yesterday, like, can he
Yeah.
stay there?
Because
Michelle
that's
is
where the International Criminal Court is.
casual observer. Michelle is getting a headache. Well, not literally, but, you know, metaphorically, yes. So he was talking about this, and then he made some comparisons to the thing that he did on Saturday to some other sort of world shifting and changing events, so I'll just play this. And then he attacks the press because, of course.
No, well,
We not
of course.
succeeded with that hit. That hit ended the war. That hit ended the war. I don't want to use an example of Hiroshima. I don't want to use an example of Nagasaki. But that was essentially the same thing. That ended that war. This ended that with the war. If we didn't take that out, they'd be fighting right now.
I thought I had the other one where then he went on to say that you're scum, like literally right to their faces. CNN, MSNBC, like New York Times, like, they have people that, you know, White House correspondents with him, and he's like, you're scum, and it's just like the
And this is after he had the meltdown on the lawn at 6 a.m.
right.
because he's very grouchy in the mornings. And so
Yeah.
where he said, you know, they don't know what the fuck they're doing, which has produced some really hilarious memes, I must say.
Yeah.
But as always, every accusation is a confession with these people.
Right. And did you hear him today, what he was saying about ruling? How he rules?
Yes, how he rules. Yes, this was at the little town hall thing that he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have that?
You know,
Yep.
whether you're conservative or
Let me start over. Okay.
we're ruling with common sense, you know.
Ruling.
Whether you're conservative or liberal, or as they like to say, progressive. They don't like the word liberal anymore. Progressive. I think it's a beautiful word too. That's why I call them liberal. It's too nice a word. I don't know how you can be progressive when you're turning the country backwards. But no matter what you
Again.
are,
Confession.
it's all about common sense. And I think that's the way I've ruled. I do what's right.
It's the way I
Ruled.
rule. That's the way I
Ruled.
rule.
Yep, Freudian slip.
Yep.
But that is how he's behaved. He has ruled. He's not governing, because governing means that you respect the co-equal branches of government and you respect Congress and you respect the courts. Donald Trump hasn't done any of that. He's ruling over us. And, Republicans are just like, yay.
Yeah, they're just, I mean, again, this brings back to the monarch, Curtis Yarvin, Peter Thiel. I mean, Peter Thiel really is the godfather here in terms of like, the puppeteer with the money and the tech and the Palantir and like all that. I mean, it's just, and then this is part of that worldview where there's network states that is with a CEO that runs these little made up countries rules them as a monarch. There wouldn't be any press, there wouldn't be any media, only states, sanctioned or sponsored, like North Korea style stuff. And I will give it to Brit Hume. I don't know if you saw the clip. He defended his colleague today.
After how nice of him.
Yeah, I got the clip here.
Heard since, obviously, final reports are yet to be heard, but it was an impressive briefing, especially by General McCain. I'd like to say a word, if I may, Dana, about Jennifer Griffin, who was attacked by the Defense Secretary today, an attack she certainly, in my view, did not deserve. Her professionalism, her knowledge, and her experience at the Pentagon is unmatched. And I have had and still have the greatest regard for her. The attack on her was unfair.
I mean, I'm not going to give him a gold star for doing what he should have done, but at least he did. But that's also because he's probably going to come for them too, because Donald Trump is all pissed off at Fox because the polling numbers have been terrible for him, which my theory is that the combination of everything that happened last week from Saturday to Saturday, from his, impotent military parade to the success of the No Kings rallies and protests across the country, to then him getting embarrassed at the G7 in Canada, and then taking his ball and going home, and Netanyahu launching his attack against Iran, which was actually successful. And then he was getting a lot of credit for it. So Donald Trump didn't want to be left out of that. No, can't be left out of that.
Of course not.
And so all of those things combined, and then the low Fox News poll numbers, along with other lower poll numbers for him, he said, I'm going to show you I have bombs and I'm going to drop them. And that's what he did.
It's a child. And the thing is, like, to your point of they're going to come for them. I was talking, I had cocktails yesterday with a friend of mine. Actually, I think you met her. We met her at the Webbies like a year ago. She worked for Long Lead. They do the long form podcasts, like investigative podcast stuff. Anyways, she was in town. We had drinks and we were talking about this, and she was like, oh, did you see the movie about Donald Trump, The Apprentice, or whatever it was? Or was that what it was called?
The one with with,
I'm brain farting all over.
I know.
Yeah,
me too.
I know. I'm like, wow.
Too much sun.
Right.
Sebastian Stan.
Yes, Sebastian Stan.
He played the hell out of that role, by the way.
So
phenomenal.
Good.
And Jeremy Strong played.
Jeremy Strong, also amazing.
What's his name?
Roy Cohn. Right,
and that's Roy Cohn. So and also played the hell out of that role. Should have gotten the Oscar for it, by the way.
I agree. So she was asking me, like, had you seen that? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah. I go, and it's funny you say that. I was like, because Roy Cohn, in this film, you watch their relationship go like this, and then you see Roy Cohn, and like, I'm not giving any spoilers because this is what happened.
It's historical fact.
Yeah. Is that Roy Cohn was like more or less in the closet and contracted HIV, and he had full-blown AIDS, and he died a very horrible death. And as he was dying,
I believe.
Yes. And as he was dying, Donald Trump abandoned him. And Roy Cohn really is the person, who made him
Roy
who
Cohn
he is today.
Made Donald Trump the monster that he is.
Right. And so, like, you see that relationship, and you see how much Donald Trump worshipped him and went to him for everything.
He was a daddy figure. He was the daddy he didn't have.
Yeah. But then in the end, he kicked him to the curb. And I'm like, this is where I'm like, people, there is no amount of anything that anybody can do. I was like, maybe Ivanka, maybe. But everybody else, I know.
Even then, she's like the only one that's a maybe, because everybody else is dispensable.
Right. And so he will do this to you too. Susie Wiles, Stephen Miller, Pete Hegseth. Like, it doesn't matter.
No.
Like, you're like, Tulsi Gabbard. Like, I mean, he's already attacking Tulsi Gabbard. I don't know how
Oh,
much longer she's gonna
I don't know
last.
how long. She's. Let's start the lettuce clock. I don't know how much longer she's gonna last because she's been she's been like kicked out of meetings. They're supposed to have this classified briefings and she's not included. It's going to be Radcliffe, the CIA.
Right.
She's the head of. She's, God help us, but she's the DNI. The director of national intelligence is
Who sits
responsible for
above
all 18
all of it.
intelligence.
God help us. Oh, Tara, do we have you?
She
Ooh,
not
internet.
there.
Ooh, internet gremlins. Hello.
Are we
Oh,
back?
there you are.
Are we back?
Yeah. There you are. There you are.
Am I? I'm
You were
here.
like, yeah, you're very pixely, but we can hear you. So okay.
Oh, that's weird.
What should we what else should we talk about that's been big news this week? What do you think? What do you think?
Am I back clear now? Am I good?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I think that it's important for people also to keep paying attention to what's happening with ICE and what's
Mm,
going on with, these masked men snatching people off the streets. And we're seeing now more and more that
mhm.
they are not even ICE agents anymore. Now the bounty
Right.
hunters are
Right.
getting involved. And this is bad because
Yeah.
people are getting dragged out of their cars. They're getting all kinds of rights violated by bounty hunters. And
After
no one's
the Supreme Court, right, ruled that you can be deported to a third country, meaning that you could be sent to South Sudan in a prison and sit there for the rest of your life and no one can do anything about it. Like, this is the epitome of, like, I don't know how this isn't some sort of like international human rights,
it is.
I mean, it
We
is,
wouldn't put
right?
up
I
with
mean,
this
it's
with
gotta
another
be.
country.
Hell
Yeah, we wouldn't put
no.
up with this if another country was doing this.
No. What is this headline I have here? Okay, yeah. So this is all Stephen Miller, right? This is like
Shocker.
this is all part of his, insanity. Um and in this article, they quote the Wall Street Journal about, the amount of power that he has. It says it has allowed him to influence immigration policy, an area he feels particularly passionate about, which in turn has led to an increase in ICE raids and extrajudicial deportations. Miller's efforts to enact his extreme anti-immigrant policies have even drawn criticism from some colleagues inside the White House. They say they've been, quote, alarmed by some of his suggestions, with Trump even himself joking that Miller was, quote, happy about deportations.
Too happy.
Right.
Miller
Too
was
happy.
too happy.
Too happy.
Yes, because he's a psychopath,
Right.
xenophobe, racist,
Mhm.
crazy person, Nazi who should
Yeah.
have no power whatsoever.
Right.
And he is the worst of us. And between him and this fucking guy here,
Yeah,
Mushmouth,
Mishmouth. He's been complaining that it's been so hard for him to live in his house because everyone's mad at him because of what he's doing, that he has to live separately from his wife. And isn't that so sad? And we should all feel very bad for him.
I mean, if I could say fuck off
Yeah.
enough times to emphasize how strongly I want him to fuck all the way off, I wish
Mhm.
I could find the words.
Well,
Because are
yeah.
you serious? What you're complaining? You created this.
I
This
know.
is your doing, and you're ripping families apart every day gleefully. I
Yep.
don't want to hear it. I
Well,
don't want to hear it.
this has been sitting in my queue for a few weeks now. This is a short little segment from MSNBC that aired in like 2016, I think. It was early on, and it's Chris Hayes, and I think it was like October of 2016, I'm pretty sure.
So
And
before the election.
I think so. Yeah. I don't exactly remember, but it was very early on where it was like introducing who this character was. And this gives a little bit of background into Stephen Miller's life in California. And, you get to see him as a high school student. So let me just play this. Why do I do this? I always forget to take the old one out. And I have to do that before I put the new one in.
Am I the only one who is sick and tired of being told to pick up my trash? And we have plenty of janitors who are paid to do it for us.
As a high school student in left-leaning Santa Monica, California, Stephen Miller delighted in provoking his classmates.
I only hope that many of my peers and people who will be leading this country will appreciate the value and respect that torture shows towards other cultures.
In editorials and on conservative talk radio, Miller railed against what he saw as political correctness. Classmates and counselors say he was particularly incensed at hearing Spanish being spoken.
He seemed to feel that the growth of the country's diversity was the downfall of the country. I mean, he really did believe that.
Later at Duke University, Miller became a prominent defender of the lacrosse players falsely accused of rape.
We are at a terrible dearth of intelligent, common sense, courageous voices on campus.
White nationalist Richard Spencer says he became a mentor to Miller during their time together at Duke, something Miller denies. After graduation, Miller would go on to write speeches for then Senator and future Attorney General Jeff Sessions.
It's becoming more and more clear that we have chaos at the border.
He'd also become a regular on Steve Bannon's Breitbart radio show.
When you look and it's got 61 million, 20% of the country.
How long ago they were having
immigrants?
this conversation?
Is that not a massive problem? You were with Jeff Sessions for many, many, many years. Is that not the beating heart of this problem?
Well, yeah, so it's mind-boggling. And this is something that obviously I've talked about before at some length on your program.
Soon after joining the Trump campaign in early 2016, Miller was helping write the candidates' speeches.
Yeah, so I'll leave it there. I mean, you get the rest, but like
Yeah,
that,
he's
it just
been
gives a
terrible
little
forever.
his whole life. His whole life.
He is one of the most despicable human beings in this country, and he is incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
And what I don't understand, again, the frustration that Democrats didn't lean into reminding the American people of who these people are.
Yes.
That you want to give that guy, you want that guy to be in charge of anything?
Yeah.
Of anything. He shouldn't be in charge of a Ferris wheel.
No.
Never mind in charge of like immigration policy. I mean,
yeah. I know.
I have the boardwalk on the brain because I'm.
I was like a hot dog stand,
right?
But it's true, and this is he's in a very powerful position that he did not
incredibly.
He did not need to be vetted really, or there was no confirmation process or anything like that.
No
and
vetting.
He's just kind of like slithered his way into this.
That's a good word.
Because he looks very slithery.
Yes, he looks like a serpent.
Yeah. And his horrible xenophobic, I can't even say xenophobic because that implies that he's afraid of the other. He's just, it's hateful. It's like this hateful.
But hate, I would argue
there's
that
something
hate derives from fear. So
yeah, that's true. Well, and it's echoing far and wide because we talked yesterday about the New York City mayoral race, and I would like to share with people what Andy Ogles, Republican in the House, posted tonight. And it's
this guy.
Listen, and Tara and I are not fans of Zoron or anything like that, but like that has to do with policy and other things. This is racist and Islamophobic and just hideous. So Brandon Friedman wrote this on Blue Sky, says this is a shockingly racist call by a House Republican for Zoran Mamdani to be denaturalized and deported. But instead of being viewed as unserious, it's now being promoted and circulated by libs of TikTok, which is a huge account, Benny Johnson, a huge podcaster, and MAGA regulars. And Andy Ogles has written, Zoran, quote, little Muhammad, end quote, Mamdani is an anti-Semitic socialist communist who will destroy the great city of New York. He needs to be deported, which is why I'm calling for him to be subject to denaturalization proceedings. Attaches my letter to Pam Bondi. I mean, oh my God. And then Tom Homan went on Fox News and repeated this and said that Zoran Mamdani better watch out because we're coming for you. And I was like,
this is insane.
This is insane. First of all, like, aside from the fact that 364 days out of the year, all these people do is shit on New York and like, oh, the great city of New York, suddenly we're great. It's like, today and 9/11,
right.
Like the 2 days,
right.
that, whatever. But beside the point, like Marjorie Taylor Greene also put up a meme of the Statue of Liberty with like a burqa over her. and said no. And Nancy Mace posted something and it was like, I guess after 9/11, we said never forget. And I'm like, you racist pieces of shit. Like,
This
what?
but and again, they are conflating 9/11 with any Muslim,
right?
Anyone,
Which is
like,
crazy.
and it's like, that's crazy. And so we have
God's
plenty of issues with Zoran that
Yeah.
have nothing to do with that. It has to do with his policy positions
Yes.
and the fact that he's a democratic socialist, which is highly problematic.
Yeah.
And that we knew that MAGA would do this. They knew this. This has given them a reinvigorated shot of energy and a boogeyman to use from this point forward going into the midterms.
Yep.
It
Here's
was
the front page
predictable.
of the Drudge Report today. The front page.
Yes. Front page of the Drudge Report. And Democrats couldn't handle the situation before when they had all of the cards were in their hands as far as like the right issues and like pointing out what Donald Trump and MAGA were doing to the country and destroying things. They couldn't even mount a decent resistance then. Now we have to fight the Bernie Bros and the Democratic Socialists who are
that's right.
rising
I'm
from
like,
the ashes
oh
again
my
now.
God. Yes. And then that's where I'm just like,
This
and
is why
people
you
were all up-
lose.
This is what people were all up in our comments yesterday on Over It, like accusing us of being Islamophobic because we don't like Zoran, which I'm
nothing to do with
sorry.
that.
I take great
I
offense
didn't even
for
know
that.
he was
That's
Muslim
insane.
until I didn't even know he was Muslim until the MAGAs started pointing it out. It had nothing to do with that. I have a problem with him being a socialist.
That's more of it. And it's like, oh, your Republican roots are showing. First of all,
not you.
Not me, and not JoJo, and certainly not Julie. I was like, Tara, maybe, and then, I showed the comment to JoJo and she was like, I'm Lebanese. You know what I mean? It was just like,
right.
So it's, and people angry at us. Oh, why don't you like democratic socialists? Like, because, it's just not where we are politically.
It's
and
not,
I'm sorry. And,
not practical. It's never happening in this country and it's not
No.
practical. It doesn't work. Okay. And the
Yeah.
places that they think it works in like Sweden or wherever, they
Yeah.
have a fraction of the size of the population we do. And their system is not set up the way ours is. It doesn't freaking work at this level. And like, this is not the time for that discussion. Affordability is a problem. The economy is a problem. And that's why people are susceptible to this nationalist populism bullshit.
It's what
and
the
that
Tea
doesn't
Party
end
was.
well.
The Tea Party was a reaction, yes, to the first Black president, which is its own thing, but also a reaction to the 2008 crash where, all these Wall Street people and hedge fund managers, nobody went to jail. Nobody went to prison. No one was held accountable. And, who had to pay for this is the average American. And I mean, it's messed up. That was Occupy Wall Street. I mean, that was the other swing on the other side of it in Zuccotti Park. And so, this is why I've said to some of my friends in the last couple of days, because it's like, oh, you don't, you must be, a Republican or you're this. I was like, what? Why does it have to be one or the other? Just because I don't like, I didn't support Zoran's campaign, which, by the way, he ran a great campaign.
He did.
And Democrats should have a lot to learn from the campaign that he ran. Maybe
The
not
way he ran it.
The way he ran it.
What he was promising. Like they're taking the wrong lessons from this, which is what we talked about yesterday on the show. They're taking all the wrong lessons.
Right.
And, this guy is another performative guy that knows how to turn it on and off. I sent you that clip from him a couple years ago. He's a Nepo baby, first of all. Second of all, he was talking about a movie or something that his mom directed that required a certain ethnic accent. And he was talking, you would never know that the guy that was running for mayor of New York was the same guy that was talking about this. He can switch it on and off.
Yeah.
And he even says that I can, I see what people want and I can give it to them. That's exactly what this guy did. So it bothers me that he's full of shit.
Well, right.
And what he really believes is a lot more radical than what a lot of people, I think, would be comfortable with, especially in New York City and especially the Jewish community in New York City.
Well, then that's right. And I'm looking at this woman named Elaine E.G. who's commenting what we have to say. And she's very angry. And she said that, let the people of New York City decide. I live here. I voted in this election. So that's me. I get a say too.
And Julie, but
and
she's not here
Julie.
today.
And this is about affordability. And I was like, I agree. Listen, and this is again where like I take like an issue with being called some sort of corporate Democrat. I've had a job since I was 14. I come from a family of first responders. My dad was the head of his union. I was on public assistance for a few years in my 20s. I mean, I work my ass off. I have not been handed anything in my life, nothing. And so I really take offense with anyone suggesting that
Mm-hmm.
that just because I do not align with a socialist viewpoint 100%. I mean, there's a lot of things I agree with the problems. I think we all have maybe different ways of going about it.
Right.
I think everyone would agree that we have an issue with affordability and like the cost of housing, the housing availability as it is. There's a housing
Mm-hmm.
crisis in this country.
Yep.
Big banks, like all kinds. I mean, yes, we all agree about this, and it's okay that we disagree on how to do it. That is okay. So if people would like to get angry with us, that is your right to. You don't
That's
have to be
fine.
here. We hope you'll stay, but it's I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I was in the Bulwark's comments yesterday too, and I was like, oh, it's not just us. Great. It's anybody
Right.
really.
Right.
So,
And
you know,
Kristen
Medicare is
McCall.
socialism. Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's a
Medicare and
form.
Medicaid. Yeah.
The social safety net is a form of it, and so this country is okay with socialism on some things and not others, and that's
Yeah.
true. But like, I have an issue with a lot of government run grocery stores and all those
Tara
kinds
and
of
I
things. Like it's
disagree about a lot of that stuff, to be honest. I
yeah,
remember at the
yeah,
DNC, you and I sat on those lounge chairs at CNN and we talked for like 45 minutes about universal health care because I am
right,
a huge supporter. I think that there should be
right,
universal health care in the United States, or like a single payer system. And you disagreed. And like, again, it's okay.
right.
But we do
That's
agree.
okay.
But we do agree that there's a healthcare problem in this country that is cruel.
Correct.
And United Healthcare, I read somewhere that like United Healthcare is taking Memorial Sloan Kettering off of in network. I mean, just like the cruelty and greed of our healthcare system, whatever. That's a whole nother conversation. But like, anyways,
Yes.
I just, it's people are just so angry and it's like one or the other. And if you don't 1,000% agree with someone, then I'm a terrible person. And like, it's just everyone needs to take a chill,
Mm-hmm.
like
About
take it
this
down a
part of
notch
it.
about this
About
part of
this
it. Like,
part. Because
right.
if we lose our democracy and our constitutional republic, and our constitution gets completely torn up and just thrown away, none of this shit matters. Okay? All of these policy squabbles that we're having won't matter because you'll have no opportunity to debate the public policy. None. So
Yeah.
people need to start putting things in perspective here. Put
Yeah.
it in perspective,
There's
because this is how the fascism of Donald Trump and Trumpism came to be in the
correct.
fucking first place. People throwing
Exactly.
temper
And
tantrums because they couldn't get everything they wanted and they stayed home, or they cut their nose to spite their
right.
faces. And
And
that's
it's
what's
all
happening
or
again.
nothing. It's all or nothing. And I'm like, that's not how you govern. And that's certainly not how you
Hmm.
legislate. And so, it's like another guy, Dan, here who's saying, he was one of the people who pointed out Medicare, Medicaid, their socialism. I totally agree. It's a form of socialized healthcare, which I think everyone is entitled to. I think the way
Well, they
that
pay
we
into it. It's paid
right,
into.
right.
So it's, I mean,
You
I don't
pay
want to get
well,
into
right.
this
No,
discussion,
no,
but
I
yeah,
know, but and then it's like I'm not angry, I'm disappointed, I'm out, and I'm like, okay,
okay,
like
well,
I don't know what to
bye-bye.
tell you.
I mean, yeah, I don't know what you want to tell you. Our goal here is to save our democracy so that
Yeah,
we can have these policy debates. How about
yeah,
that?
yeah.
So if that's not, if you're going to throw a temper tantrum and leave and not support us or not watch us anymore because we have a difference on policy, that's your
Hmm.
prerogative. Goodbye. We're not going to stop being who we are and stop fighting for what we're fighting for. I mean, I was at a No Kings rally. I was at a
I
protest
know.
last week.
Whoever would have thought we'd see Tara at a
15 years ago,
protest.
I was at Tea Party rallies. And I'm out here locking arms with people that I probably don't have any policy agreements with, but we all agree that this is the greatest country in the world and we want to save it from the fascism that's marching down our streets. How
Yeah,
about that?
yeah, and the extremism really that I mean,
On
again,
both sides. There's
on both
extremism on
sides,
both sides here, and
and
it's rearing its ugly head now.
and I know that you're strapped for time, Tara,
Yeah,
but I was
that's
wondering
okay.
if I could just play this clip. This is from the newsroom. which was on HBO. This was a show written by Aaron Sorkin. It was about, a cable news station in one particular show, and led by Jeff Daniels, who plays a character that could be compared to maybe a Joe Scarborough or Lawrence O'Donnell or something. And he's talking about the rise of the Tea Party, in particular, a guy who's running for Senate in Utah named Mike Lee, and compares him to, some of the more, super lefty people in the 60s. So I'm just going to play this.
What it started out to be.
Have you slept?
I got up at 2 a.m. and broke down polling data from the Republican Senate primary race in Utah.
I never heard anyone say that before.
Someone faxed me the polling data. I don't even know who, but that doesn't matter. Bob Bennett, the most conservative member of the Senate, is going to lose his primary race to a guy named Mike Lee because Lee found room to the right of Bennett.
You wouldn't think that was possible.
Back in 1968, when Rennie Davis and Hayden and their guys organized the SDS, it was specifically to end the Vietnam War. But that movement got eaten by Abby Hoffman and Jerry Rubin and the Yippies.
Hoffman and Rubin were a lot more charismatic.
Yeah, but it was impossible to define what the Yippies were protesting. They were about giving the finger to anyone over 30, generically hating the American establishment, dropping out, and getting high.
And?
That's how the progressive movement would be painted for the next 40 years.
How is there room to the right of Bob Bennett?
For starters, a centerpiece of Mike Lee's stump speech is repealing the 14th Amendment. It's an applause line, and he's going to win his primary by double digits. Charlie, I understood the Tea Party in the beginning, just like I understood the SDS. The Tea Party was a middle-class movement responding spontaneously to bad trends. Wages are stagnant, jobs were disappearing, Wall Street got trillions, and everybody was laughing at them.
But
they've been co-opted by the radical right, which in turn has enslaved the Republican middle.
So you think the 60s radicals and the Tea Party are roughly the same?
With one big exception. Even at the height of 1968, the Democrats wouldn't have nominated Abby Hoffman or Jerry Rubin for any office, and no candidate would have sought their endorsement. The Tea Party is being radicalized and their original organizing principles obliterated, and no one should be laughing anymore. They should be scared shitless. My party's being hijacked, and it's happening in real time. How is this not our top story every night?
You're not going to be very popular with Republicans.
Hoffman and Rubin weren't Democrats, and these guys aren't Republicans. It needs to be a Republican saying it. Top story every night, until the plant from Little Shop of Horrors goes back to its planet.
Man, oh man, oh man. As someone who was part of the 112th
I know.
Congress as a staffer, and looking back at that time in the middle of all of that, it's uncanny
Right.
how accurate every single word of that was.
Mm-hmm. And that episode is
Wow.
called the 112th Congress. And the way that show, was written, it was written 1 year after. So all the news in 2011,
Yeah.
was being written about. And then this aired in 2012. I can't think. But
I mean, he was
of course,
100% right
Yeah.
about all of that, about how they weren't Republicans, and they weren't, and they ran out Eric
Right.
Cantor, and John
Yes.
Boehner eventually was said fuck
I
this and was
know,
out of there.
right.
It was
Paul Ryan was
it's
like,
so
I'm
right.
out of here. It's just,
Yeah.
it's wild. And I love it's put
And so did
I know, right. So did you, and so
So-
did a lot of people. And I just think it's so well written and described in such a way that I think
So good.
it's digestible, and that's why the show is just so good. And
Aaron Sorkin is so good.
I always love the musical theater references that he puts throughout all of his scripts, because Aaron Sorkin was a musical theater major at Syracuse University.
At Syracuse, yeah.
We had all the same teachers and everything. He came to talk to us a couple times. So, but anyways,
That's cool.
and yeah,
I hear
and-
there's a Social Network 2
I was
coming.
just gonna say there's a Social Network 2 coming, and I think it's gonna be called like the Facebook Files.
Speaking
or
of Harvard.
something. Yeah, it's gonna be called the Facebook Files, and I think that like part of the storyline is January 6th. So,
Yes, because he thinks that Facebook has a large role to play in January
Mhm.
6th happening. He's not wrong as far as how it
Right.
was organized, and a lot of the bullshit with Stop the Steal. Facebook was a culprit. They helped facilitate that, and that's
absolutely.
no bueno. So
Mhm.
I hope Jesse Eisenberg comes back and reprises his role as
That would be great.
Mark Zuckerberg, because he
I
was
know
fantastic.
they're about the
so.
same age, so I don't see why not.
Yeah, I think it would be great. So,
Mhm.
well, on that note, I'm going to go. I'm glad that I was able to hop on and we
Yeah.
could chat. There's just so much going on here.
I know.
I saw a couple folks who are Jersey people in the chat. They were asking how things are down here because I'm in Seaside Park. And look, there are a lot of MAGAs down here.
Yeah.
And I've been sending pictures of things from the boardwalk where there's like all this
Mm.
weird gray Christian stuff being pushed
It's
in
super creepy.
some of the t-shirt shops. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I've been coming down here my entire life. Like
Yeah.
literally my entire life, since like before I could walk.
Mhm.
And I have never seen anything like this before. It's been
Mm.
very weird.
And that's
And
coming
like,
from you're a Christian, like you are like a
yeah,
religious person, and like so it's not like you're anti.
no, I mean, I was part of an evangelical church, a
Right.
non-denominational evangelical church from the time I was 13
Right.
until Donald Trump, until
Mm.
the head pastor of the church that I went to, whose family I knew very, very well. He was over our home church pastor until his wife started attacking me and calling me an apostate because I was pointing out Donald Trump being against everything we were taught. And those people, the evangelical people who had known me since I was 15 years old,
Mhm.
called me all kinds of names. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like, so I don't want any parts of that. And they can all, they're going to have to answer for it. I'll never step foot in the evangelical church ever again. Thank God we believe that relationship with Jesus is personal and we don't need a church to do that.
Right.
And,
Right.
yes, I say cuss words, but whatever. So, but that's
Who
how I
made up
grew up.
that rule? I'm always just like,
I mean, there's some argument about that anyway. So, whether what all some of that means in the Bible anyway. But I'm just saying, as long as you're not taking the Lord's name in vain. So, I mean, so when I see this, I see the creeping in of this Christian nationalism, even in like here down the shore on the boardwalk. It's like, I'm like, what is this? It's now, I'm not saying in the past, I wouldn't have been like, oh, this is weird. But given the context that we're in now and with the influence of Christian nationalism, it bothers me that this is
Mhm.
front and center in like the regular t-shirt shops next to like the Jersey Shore or like salty this, or you know what I mean? It's like these weird Christian phrases. And I'm just, I don't know. It's something to, I don't know. It's giving me the heebie-jeebies. And
Yeah.
also the little like MAGA dolls that are inside some of the like the crane
So weird.
games and stuff, and like all this MAGA stuff. They have like they have a MAGA store. Well, at least they did last year. I don't know if it's still there. I haven't walked to that side of the boardwalk yet this year, but they had a
Mhm.
whole MAGA store, like a MAGA merch store, and they have them in Tom's River. It's so, there's a lot. There was a lot of Let's Go Brandon flags, and like I said yesterday, one of our favorite restaurants in the parking lot next to them has a big Trump's back thing, and I'm like, good God. But I
Oh
don't
God.
care.
Well,
I mean,
they've
there's a
all
lot of
been
great
calling
people
him
down here.
daddy. There's
Yes.
new merch on I think it's on the White House or something. They put
It's
out a video calling him daddy. It's super weird. Go to the White
it's
House Instagram
weird.
account. It is there.
It's that
And they're
whole thing is
selling
weird.
merchandise. It's like an orange shirt, which is like ironic, and it's got his face on it, and then it says "Daddy's home."
Yeah, I can't. And then they use the Usher song that talks
Right, I'm
about
sure
that
Usher's not going to
from.
be happy with that.
I saw that they put it out from the official White House social accounts
Right.
with a song that was unsanctioned. I guarantee you Usher's not happy about that. So I hope they sent a
Yeah.
cease and desist. But it's all very weird and just weird and disgusting and infantile and I just don't
Yeah.
understand how people look at this and think that this is normal. It's not.
Yeah, and I just wanted to point this out too. It said that Social Security is not an entitlement. We pay into that absolutely, and like that's another reason why we all need to keep calling our senators this week, because this big bullshit bill they're trying to shove through is going to take a lot of these things that we have paid for. Especially, I think about people like my parents' age who've paid into these things their whole lives, and
Mhm.
they're like, oh well, we're not gonna do anything to Social Security. We're just they're all lying
Yes.
and they don't
Right.
care.
Right. Well, I
So
think that the term entitlement got thrown around because it
well,
has to
from
be
the right.
funded by, well, yes, but also it comes from, there are certain things that must be funded. And
Mm.
that had to be funded. And so because people pay into it, they are entitled to get it.
Right.
So but
And
it,
not
it has
a
been,
sense of entitlement. It is actually you
correct.
are entitled to that. It's not
Correct.
it
And
wasn't
it must.
originally meant to. Yeah.
Right. And it
Yeah.
must be funded. These are things that by law they have to be funded
Mhm.
because they're paid into. So Anyway,
Yeah.
just a little bit as the congressional staffer and me coming out about that.
Listen, I learn something new every day with you, Tara. Every day.
I try. But yes, I will leave you guys on this. I am perfectly safe down here. I'm not worrying about it. Don't worry, I'll be fine. I will be on the boardwalk. Yes, I will be eating Zeppelis. That's one of my favorite things in life. And this is my happy place, and I'm glad I get to spend a little time down the shore. I'm grateful to
Mhm.
our good friends for letting us stay with them in their shore house.
That's so
Just
nice.
beautiful. It's so nice. They're the most wonderful people. Shout out to the Whalens. And yes, I get to Jersey girl myself
Love it.
out for the next
We all
week.
deserve a little break and a little beach. You know what I mean? We all
Yes,
deserve a little
yes.
bit of that.
I do
Um,
beach. I'm good at beach.
You're a very good beach person. You love water and you love beach. I like
Yes, I have
water.
beach
I
hair
just
right now.
love it.
I do beach, and I'm gonna post
I
some
remember
pictures.
being a kid having the lake
Oh,
hair. You know what I mean? Yeah.
yes, there's nothing
Lake
like good
Ontario.
salt water in the hair and being on the beach.
Yeah.
And I will post some pictures for all the people who are New Jersey haters that think New Jersey is the armpit of America.
It's
My
actually very
ass,
pretty.
okay? It's beautiful here, and the water was crystal clear yesterday, and it looked nicer than Florida. So today it's a little rough. There's bad weather, but New Jersey is a beautiful state. So it's the Garden State for a
Yeah.
reason. So anyway, all
Well,
right,
I
guys.
will take us out. Well, I'll say really quick that Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern, we do our show, Coffee and Conversation. It is Tara, me, Jojo from Jers, and Julie. It is my favorite thing to do all week long. So we'll be doing that per usual. And Sunday night, I don't know exactly what time or anything like that, but Julie and I are going to do a little stream and talk about Jeff Bezos's wedding.
That's
So we're
happening
gonna
right
do
now in Venice
it's like a
Beach.
3-day clown car circus, and
I'm so
we are
glad I'm not there. I was just in Venice a couple weeks ago doing my TED Talk, and it was lovely. But I'm glad I didn't have to deal with that bullshit while I was there. Good
Oh,
God.
terrible, terrible. And it also kind of shows the character of a lot of people who say one thing and then go to just, oh, well, I have to go to the thing for my rich friend, even though I speak at the DNC, like, Eva Longoria. Anyways, so we're going to talk about
Unbelievable.
that. I know. So we're going to talk
This
about that.
moment reveals the character of a lot of people.
Oh,
Of a lot of
yes.
people. A lot of
Yes.
people. It's very disappointing, but you know what? It's important for people to be revealed for who they really are.
It's
Integrity.
true. It's
Let's make
true.
integrity great again, folks.
Exactly. So I'll leave you with that. Otherwise, we'll see you Saturday, and I'm going to take us out with our latest video, Bluster, Bombs, and Bullshit.
Yes, yes.
And we'll see you all soon.
Sunday is StreamYard, folks. StreamYard.
Wait,
right?
what?
No,
Yeah, it's
people
going to be
are
on
asking
YouTube.
where.
Oh yeah,
Oh, they go.
we'll stream it to like Seneca, and we'll do it on Julie's Salty Politics. We'll stream it everywhere, like I'm sure, like we normally do. So it'll
Folks were
be
just asking.
Yeah, and we'll tweet it out and we'll post, and Julie will put it on her Substack and stuff too. We were just texting about it today. Julie's like, we should do this. So,
Yes.
I was like, that would actually be fun. I
Absolutely.
would love to do a little gossip.
Yes, you should, guys.
anyways.
You guys should do it.
Yeah. So, anyways, everybody stay safe. Happy Pride, and we'll see you all
Yes.
very soon. Bye.
We have spent more than $7 trillion in fighting wars in the Middle East. As a candidate for president, I loudly pledged a new approach. Great nations do not fight endless wars.
6 months in, and here we are, turning back on the campaign promises.
And I'm the only candidate in this race who can make this promise. I will prevent World War III. Nobody else is going to prevent it. You're going to end up in World War III.
To breaking news. Breaking news.
Breaking news.
U.S. reportedly striking Iran directly.
President Trump announcing on Truth Social.
A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordo.
But I'm proud to be the first president in decades who started no new wars.
And we bombed Iran.
All this, going to war with Iran.
Because MAGA is not for foreign wars.
Yep.
We are not for regime change.
After his officials said, no regime change. That's not what we're doing. It's about the nukes. He put out a tweet.
I want to put up a pretty interesting post from the president here, full screen. It says it's not politically correct to use the term regime change, but if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, why wouldn't there be a regime change? And then he ends it with MIGA, make Iran great again.
And the reason I started no new wars is they respected the people in this room.
and we are for America first.
And part of me was like, oh, we're not really going to do that.
We should have never got into the Middle East.
We're entering a nuclear war, the World War III.
World War III if something doesn't happen fast. And that's going to be a world war like no others because of nuclear power and other power that's out there.
Their tune is going to drastically change the minute we start seeing flag-draped coffins on the nightly news, on Fox News that brainwashes all the baby boomers.
Thank you very much.